The Institute of Chartered Accountants of India is the world's second-largest accounting and auditing body. The Institute has proudly completed 70 years of providing excellence and has coined a new theme, celebrating the past, inspiring the future.
Good evening, everyone. My name is CA Rohit Daima. I am Social Leader of ICAI Abu Dhabi Chapter. It's my great pleasure and privilege to invite CA Padmanabha Acharya, popularly known as Paddy, on 30th Annual International Seminar of ICAI Abu Dhabi Chapter. May I request CA Rajesh to please play the introductory video.
CA Padmanabha Acharya is an audit partner and leads the audit and assurance practice for Deloitte in the United Arab Emirates. He has over 20 years of experience in assurance and advisory services, of which a considerable amount was gained in the Middle East region. His breadth of experience covers a broad spectrum of industries, including oil and gas, aerospace and defense, manufacturing and telecommunications. Padmanabha has also been involved in significant advisory engagements, including activity-based costing studies, internal controls over financial reporting, IFRS conversions, privatizations, and capital market offerings. He is a fellow member of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, an associate member of the Institute of Cost Accountants of India, and a member of the Colorado Society of Certified Public Accountants, United States. Padmanabha is an IFRS expert and has spoken at many international forums on varied technical topics.
I'll request CA Padmanabha Acharya to please come on the dais and take on the proceeding.
Technical team, could you play the introductory video?
CA Y. Sudhir Shetty is the Group President of UAE Exchange. He has been leading UAE Exchange, the global money transfer, foreign exchange and payment solutions brand, since 1991. His charismatic leadership, technological know-how, and operational expertise have transformed UAE Exchange into a truly global brand. Sudhir Shetty has bachelor's degree in commerce and bachelor's degree in law, and he also completed his chartered accountancy from the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. Sudhir Shetty is known for his multifaceted personality, encompassing leadership, business, social work, philanthropic activities, promotion of culture, education and sports. He has also donned the hat of an actor by playing the vital role of Raja Marthanda Varma in the documentary titled Travancore, A Saga of Benevolence. He is considered an authority in aspects related to remittance and migration. Industry players, research entities, and the media turn to him for advice and opinions.
Sudhir, please come on stage.
Mr. Samir Chaturvedi is the Chief Executive Officer of Khalifa Industrial Zone Abu Dhabi, Kaizad. In his role, Mr. Chaturvedi oversees Kaizad's portfolio of assets, activities, operations and growth strategy. Mr. Chaturvedi joins Abu Dhabi Ports with over 35 years' experience in the fields of logistics, shipping, supply chain management, automotive, infrastructure and real estate development. Prior to joining Abu Dhabi Ports, Mr. Chaturvedi held the position of Senior Vice President with Economic Zones Worldwide (EZW) and Jebel Ali Free Zone Authority (JAFZA). During his career, Mr. Chaturvedi has worked with many large global organizations, including Maersk, Zim Lines, DHL, Suzuki Motors, as well as logistics, shipping and automotive industries. Mr. Chaturvedi is an alumnus of Harvard University's Graduate School of Design, GSD, the Chartered Institute of Logistics and Transport, CILT, UK, and Annamalai University in India.
Can we welcome Samir Chaturvedi on stage, please?
CA Mayur Batra is the founder and president of Mayur Batra Group. Prior to forming Mayur Batra Group, He was heading finance, accounting, credit tax and legal department of one of the largest Japanese trading houses, a Fortune 500 company located in India. He was also appointed as Secretary General of Japanese Chambers of Commerce and Industries, New Delhi, India, with a specialization in corporate tax and cross-border transactions. Mr. Batra has over 20 years of experience in advising many Fortune 500 multinationals across various business sectors, primarily comprising of Japanese, Chinese, European and Asian business houses. Mr. Batra has also advised a number of institutional and private equity investors, banking groups, investment banks, brokerage houses, fund managers and other financial services firms on complex M&A and fundraising matters across different geographies and industry verticals. He has also been an eminent speaker and addressed several seminars and conferences in UAE, India, Japan and Germany on topics of regulatory issues, new policies and macroeconomy.
Can we welcome Mayur Batra on stage, please? Good evening, everyone. The topic of our panel discussion is winning strategies in challenging times. So I'll ask my first question to Sudhir. We've all known him for a long period of time. Maybe some of you don't know he's a movie star. So he acted as Raja Martanda Varma in a Malayalam documentary. Sudhir, could you tell us a little bit in terms of your journey? You are the president of UAE Exchange, which has got operations in 31 countries. So how did you reach to this position? Could you tell us about your journey to leadership?
In fact, I joined the NMC group in 1990, and I was handling the internal audit function for the group. In 1991, the person who was heading the exchange company passed away. It was sudden. And then Dr. Shetty asked me, go and take charge of UAE Exchange. So that's how I ended up in UAE Exchange in 1991, and for the past 27 years, we have transformed the organization from a totally manual operation to a totally automated environment. Today, the group has 6 companies under Finabler Group, which is UAE Exchange, Travelex, Unimoney. Then we have the Express Money, Remit to India, and Ditto Bank. These are all part of the group. The operations are in almost 45 countries with about 2,000 and odd direct branches. Also have digital environment to take care of the needs of the future and the existing younger customer base. Hope that's good enough.
Yeah, that's quite inspiring. Samir, your journey to that of a CEO of a company, which is a government company in Abu Dhabi, I don't see a lot of Indians who are at the helm of affairs. You are one, and that makes all of us very proud. Could you tell us something in terms of your own journey to the role of a CFO or CEO?
My journey, I don't know where to start from, but the only thing I can say, let me give you some of my feelings. I come from a very large family, and in the family I was always the dull and the less intelligent ones. We have a lot of chartered accountants in the family too, and they were the intelligent ones. So sitting here telling you people my experiences, I feel a little bit in awe. But you were the intelligent ones, amazing people who have studied better, well. But for me, my career I never planned for my career. I never planned to be where I am. And I think I am really honored that Abu Dhabi Ports and the authorities found me worthy enough to take this role. I've been around in different areas, but the only thing that I have looked at always is to focus on something, believe in something, put your view on something and get it done. And I believe that is what helped me getting in here. It may be in sports, it may be in my adventures in life or in work. I think it all remains the same.
Thank you, Samir. Mayur, you've been someone who's moved over from service to creating your own enterprise. And that's quite challenging. And at a very young age, you've achieved quite a lot, and you've set up an empire, actually, of service professionals across multiple geographies. Could you tell us something about your personal journey?
First of all, good evening, everybody. It's an honor to be a part of such an august panel, and thank you very much for the opportunity. And it's an honor to be in a room with so many of fellow brothers and sisters who from the same educational background. As far as my journey is concerned, I used to work for a large company, and which gave me basically an in-look on how global trade, movement of people, capital, technology, goods works. And I could feel that there is an opportunity specifically for growing economies in Asia, whether it's in Middle East or India or Southeast Asia or China, to be an enabler to find, to provide market access to global corporations entering these markets, and other way around with increasing economic size, the companies here who want to be outbound to find now, no company of size or no organization of size can have enough always for their own domestic market. The future is, if we are facing global challenges, it brings global opportunity also at the same time. So that's the underlying which encouraged me to take the leap, and it's been an enriching journey to say the least.
Thank you. I'll just set some context. In terms of UAE particularly, our economy is largely driven by oil. And we saw what happened in terms of the global oil prices, which came down, and there was a knock-on impact in terms of the economy here. A lot of expatriates lost some jobs, and they had to go back. And we had, in general, a population decline in UAE, very low growth rates. In 2017, less than 1% as growth rate. In 2018, perhaps we are looking at a real growth rate of around 3.5% on the back of oil prices, which are actually quite fluctuating. You see oil close to 80, and then you see it, fluctuating, going downwards. The last few weeks have not been very good as far as global oil prices are concerned. Now, in that context, Samir, we've seen in the UAE particularly, the government looking at various sources of revenues. We've seen VAT being implemented effective 1st of January this year. And we've seen as well certain other costs, going up. So the cost of doing business locally is going up. In that context, looking at your business, Kizad, how are you able to attract people to come and invest in Abu Dhabi?
Yes, what you said, times are challenging. But Abu Dhabi, us in Abu Dhabi Ports or Kizad, are not working on a small-term vision. The objective and the vision created by the leadership of Abu Dhabi, or the Vision 2030, has a very strong view of where we want to be. Yes, the challenges, we are also getting a lot spoiled for not paying for what we ought to. Services cannot come for free. If the economy has to grow, the dependence of oil cannot continue forever. Diversification of economy is no longer a matter of choice. It's a necessity in this region, And every country in the region is working towards it. Then we come on to the issue of cost to serve, cost of operations, cost of things. We need to find better ways of serving our target markets. And the basic objective that we work with is to how we can make our customers reach their target markets, do their business better and cheaper. And that Abu Dhabi and we are working towards through creating the right infrastructure, creating the right connections, making sure that we can reach the market faster, making sure we can bring in efficiencies in the system. And when you do all these things, at some point in time, you have to take some hard and strong decisions. You have to take decisions of bringing in new processes, bringing in new costs to make sure that the economy can sustain over a longer period of time. And whatever our customers or the industry is trying to do, not only in the next 1 year, 2 year, 3 years, in the next 20, 30, 40 years, can be sustained.
I'll take an Indian take on this one. Sudhir, we had Raghuram Rajan speaking the other day saying that demonetization has affected India's growth, and as well GST has affected India's growth. Now, in that context, our finance minister countered saying, his views are different. What's your own personal view on this particular situation, and where do you see India's economy heading? And we also want some tips as people on the other side, whether we need to remit money to India or hold on to our cash. So I've got multiple questions for you.
Well, I think on the topic taxation and GST, a lot of discussions has taken place over the years. But I think the media is playing really on the minds of the people, because when we look at things, look at demonetization. Now, what they claim is because 99.3% of the money has come in, they say demonetization is a failure. But 99.3% of the money was not in the banking system. It was outside the banking system. Today, the entire money is in the banking system. I think there's a huge benefit that demonetization has brought into the liquidity area. The other thing is on the GST. Now, if you have a scenario where you had to pass through multiple numbers of checkpoints, if you are taking the goods from one state to another, today that is not there. You can move goods from Kashmir to Kanyakumari without any problems. And then instead of multiple taxation, you had the octroi, you had the state sales tax, central sales tax. Ultimately, the total amount of tax one was paying was almost the same amount what the GST is now levying. So I think there is a lot of economic, prospects that we have seen post demonetization and GST. We know for sure today, I think the report says the direct tax collection has gone up by 15.7% year on year. The indirect tax collection anyway has gone up because prior to the introduction of GST, vast majority of the checkpoints were collecting money which was not going to the government. I think now it is being captured at the source. So I think GST and demonetization both has really has done good to the economy. Now, if you ask me where the rupee is going, I think it is ignorance is bliss. We sit under the screen every day and watch the rupee movement and take inputs from the experts from the Bombay market. And ultimately, we don't know really tomorrow morning when the market opens where the rupee is going. But the golden rule is that if you have to borrow in rupees. If you have to keep deposits in foreign currency. Why I say this is, if you just see the rupee movement in the last 10 years or so, on an average, rupee has depreciated 4 to 5% year on year. Of course, this year was an exceptional year. So does 2013. 2013 also, suddenly rupee weakened to $68.8, 8 rupees per dollar. But then it moved upwards, strengthened, and then came to almost 60. So this year, we have lost almost, the rupee depreciated around 12%. But on an average, if you take a 10-year window, It's about 4 to 5% depreciation every year. Now suppose if you are keeping your deposit in foreign currency, say FCNRs or any other deposit, you would earn anything between 2.5 to 3%. Around 5% is the depreciation of rupee every year. So even if you have borrowed in Indian rupee for housing loan at 8.5 or 9, it's almost the loan has come free for you. I think this is what the rule that we need to follow. But if you ask anybody where the rupee is going, it is anybody's guess, because now we have a lot of factors really determine where the rupee is going. One is the internal factor. We have current account deficit, which is going, the gap is widening because of the oil price. The inflation is another aspect. When the election is around the corner, you have a lot of goodies being offered by the government, and the FIIs, FDIs, all of them stay away, wait for the results to come. So in these scenarios, definitely this is not doing good for the rupee. And in the international, on the external factors, you have the US Treasury, the interest rates are attractive. There are trade tariffs. Brexit is looming. FII is staying away. These are all the factors which really determine where the rupee is going. I always keep saying this, the Bombay market is so small. If you have a large importer coming to the market, that morning rupee will depreciate. If somebody who is bringing their export earnings to the market, that day rupee will appreciate. So that's the size of the market that we are in. So I think these are all the various factors that we need to keep in mind when we look at the rupee movement.
You do see a correlation between Indian elections and rupee decline?
No, not really, because what happens is whether, now tomorrow Nilesh Shah will tell you whether the Modi ji gets re-elected or somebody else is forming the government, the stock market, just for a day or two, they behave erratically and then move upwards, because no matter which government is going to take charge, they can't reverse some of the measures that has been already taken, and they know for sure, because economics will play major role than the politics.
Can I add one comment on the GST issue? We all talk about what government will get, what taxation, what is happening through. I personally believe you will see the impact of GST in the next 5 years. I spent a lot of time in my career in supply chain and logistics in India. The problem that India faces today of fragmented logistics, every state, if you are a large automotive company, or if you are a large consumer good company, you had to keep in stocks and inventory in every state. Think of the impact of that multiple duplicated inventory on your businesses. You people know the accounts and finance, on the overall cost of doing business across the country. People are still talking about the impact, immediate impact, the knee-jerk reaction to the GST, which is coming through. But once you are able to see the scaling benefit out of it, when the people can control their inventories better, locate the inventory in strategic points, and serve larger markets, the agricultural produce in India which gets wasted, if it can move freely and large infrastructure can be created in centralized locations without the fear of octroys and all those challenges which the industry used to face, I'm sure you will see a huge economic benefit out of this particular thing.
Mayur, I would like your views on GST and demonetization.
Yeah, actually for me, I have fairly large consulting business in India, so I have these customers on both the sides who are benefiting and who are suffering from a bit. I will first talk about it on a bit macro basis. Basically, India is probably transiting from emerging economy to a developed economy. In any businesses which gentlemen here run, if you have to scale up, there is a cost. Now, if our economy has to scale up, it has to become better organized. It has to remove barriers. It has to improve ease of doing business. It has to bring most of the enterprises on a fair playing ground in the organized way. So demonetization and GST is right steps towards that direction. Now, the micro, small, medium enterprises who had a very low level of compliances, as well as who had, low expense budget on compliances, they are overwhelmed by this change. So now in GST, from getting your raw material to your factory building material for a manufacturing company to selling your products, the whole chain is on one software or a computer system. So it's possibility of evading tax, possibility of doing it out of the banking system is almost dead. So this will, of course, boom government revenues. It will help the organized sector, and in longer term also help the medium and small enterprises to get better organized. Of course, the government is also working on encouraging them. Recently, our Prime Minister, I think, has just announced special measures for micro industries. You can get a 20 million rupees, 2 crore rupees loan in 1 hour. Through a website, you can get various approvals. They're having special treatment in government procurement, payment, factoring. They are getting special treatment from all banks, interest rate subsidies. So it will take time, but then getting well organized is the next stage. So government revenues will rise, trade inefficiencies are being removed, and it is, I believe, a very good measure.
Samir, in June 2018, Crown Prince of Abu Dhabi, Mohammed bin Zayed, announced a 50 billion dirham stimulus package for Abu Dhabi. He also announced the creation of 10,000 jobs for Emiratis over the next 5 years. How do you see the economy benefiting from this 50 billion dirhams? And where do you see the money being deployed? I understand that a 90-day time frame has been given for the agencies to come and put together an action plan. And do you believe that this step will pump up the local economy here? And how, as Kizad, you are a catalyst in terms of bringing businesses to UAE? And I understand that you have a lot of Chinese interest. So maybe perhaps you can give us a little bit of insight there.
I won't have the full view of what is happening and how that 50 billion investment is progressing. I can tell you more about Abu Dhabi Ports and Kizad, or what we are trying to do. This was a very ambitious project, and the project was also very, very costly. We had to look at multiple issues, the location of Abu Dhabi, the kind of coastal area we had, the reef in there, and it was a very costly project. But the vision was very far-sighted. They were looking at creating an economic hub in Abu Dhabi Port and Kizad to create an industrial base. UAE has always been a trading economy. Creating an industrial base where the industries can actually invest and reach this region, creating ease of business. We got some very good boosts. We are just 6 years old. On 12th of December this year, we will be 6 years old. We got some very good boost when 2 of the major shipping companies decided to put their faith in Abu Dhabi ports. MSC, one of the top, MSC and COSCO, the 2 large shipping companies, decided to create their own hubs for regional distribution for all their shipping lines in Abu Dhabi port. Indeed, the COSCO terminal will get inaugurated on 10th of December this year. This gave us a lot of connectivity into the region. This gave us a lot of connectivity into the global markets. And with this also came a lot of industrial interest. China's Jiangsu province decided to invest into a 2.5 square kilometer zone together with us to bring in Chinese investment into Abu Dhabi. We are constantly working towards finding new ways of attracting investment, finding new ways of creating better economic value for the customers. And when you talk of 10,000 local jobs, my job is a little bit bigger than that. Local jobs are very, very important, very key to our doing business. But the zone that I lead, that's a vision of creating an industrial city of 410 square kilometers. If we talk of, on an average, an investment of 1 billion per square kilometer, or $500 million per square kilometer, when this vision is fully delivered, total public, private, government, infrastructure, industrial, overall investment, we are looking at around $200 to $300 billion. That's not all. Our vision for 2030 is we have the first phase of the zone is 60 square kilometers, which is almost 60-65% leased out, and the construction and development is going on. We believe we will finish off the first phase, lease it out totally by 2020-21. We are already master planning the second phase, which is 180 square kilometers, and we will bring it to market by end of 2019. Now, what I'm trying to relate here is, if you look at Jebel Ali Free Zone, 50 square kilometer, 160,000 employees. We already have around 15 to 18,000 employees registered who are trying to work towards greater numbers as the industries start coming off ground and start operating. When we talk of 180 square kilometer, we're talking of employment of at least a couple of 100,000 people. Our need, our manpower planning has to be in the field of accountants, managers, operators, plumbers, fitters, electricians, welders, everything will be required. So this is by far one of the most interesting part of working with the customers who we operate with and trying to create an ecosystem which can actually absorb this and also creating a pipeline where we can actually get these skills available in the time and years to come.
Excellent. I mean, that's a wonderful vision as to how you fit in Vision 2030, creating such a large employment base, not just for Emiratis, but also for expatriates in Abu Dhabi. Sudhir, where do you see the private sector be involved in terms of creating these 10,000 jobs for UAE nationals? We see typically Emiratis, they'd like to work with the government sector more than the private sector. So how are organizations like the UAE Exchange, what are they doing in terms of making sure that we have more Emirati workforce?
It is mandatory for us as a financial institution governed by the central bank that we need to engage 10% of our total staff strength in the form of Emiratis. So we have, in our company, we have more than 300 Emiratis working. Of course, you know, the idea is not engaging them for a salary. The idea is transfer of knowledge. Now, this is where we face a challenge. In fact, very senior people from the HR ministry from Dubai had come to my office to talk to us to find out how do you find the Emiratis in the working environment. Then I told them, you need to put them on a counseling immediately after they complete their studies because they need to prepare them to take up jobs. Now, they need to really make them understand that it is important for them to learn the tricks of the trade. There is a lot of reluctance to be at the customer interface. They want to be away from that. They don't want to take the responsibility of taking the keys because if they are taking the keys, then they have to be the first one to come to the office the following day. But for us, for the last 8 to 10 years or so, we were able to retain the talent. In fact, we have some of the Emiratis with us for the last 8-9 years. They have now, almost become the branch heads, senior officials, senior managers. Now, what motivates them? Of course, we need to provide an environment for them to work. We need to be a bit of flexible, when it comes to the hours of work, number of days. Sometimes they tell us, no, I want to work only 6 hours a day. I want to work 4 hours a day. You need to be flexible because that's what it is. But we see renewed interest among the Emiratis to learn the job and take up responsibilities. So this is, of course, as a private enterprise, especially in the service sector, this is the least preferred job for an Emirati because, for them, oil company, government jobs, banks, these are the most preferred employer. But at the same time, we know that large number of Emiratis are getting educated, they are coming out of universities. I think the private sector need to play a role, and for us it is mandated. In fact, in Oman, we have 65% of our staff strength Omanis because that's the guideline there. We can't do business without engaging 65% Emiratis as our employees, but it works well.